Okay, look, I started looking at this article about 5G and its environmental impacts. It's quite a dense article. Actually, not that dense, but there was a lot about it that I wanted to ask questions about. So I went to ChatGTP and asked my question. The first question was, could you please review the article? And I gave the URL, summarizing it under the headings, what is 5G? What are the plans for rolling out 5G? What are the likely environmental impacts of 5G? What are the possible health impacts of 5G? What problem does 5G solve? And what are the safer alternatives to 5G? And this is the answer that I got from ChatGTP.
The article from JRS Eco Wireless discusses the power consumption and environmental impact of 5G technology. Here's a summary organized under the specified headings. 1. What is 5G? 5G, or fifth generation wireless technology, is designed to deliver significantly higher data speeds and support a vast number of connected devices. It operates at very high frequencies, particularly in the 24-26 GHz range, to achieve gigabit speeds. 2. What are the plans for rolling out 5G? To implement 5G, millions of new small cells, transmitters integrated into structures like lampposts, are planned for deployment. This infrastructure aims to support the anticipated surge in wireless devices and data demand. 3. What are the likely environmental impacts of 5G? The article highlights several environmental concerns associated with 5G. Increased energy consumption. Todd 5G networks are expected to consume significantly more electricity than previous generations. Estimates suggest that a single 5G base station may use as much power as 73 households, tripling the consumption of 4G base stations. Telecom providers anticipate a 150 to 170% rise in energy costs by 2026 due to 5G. Data traffic growth. The demand for high-resolution streaming and virtual reality applications is projected to increase global mobile data usage fivefold by 2026, leading to higher energy consumption. Resource utilization. The proliferation of 5G infrastructure and devices will require substantial resources for manufacturing and maintenance, potentially leading to increased electronic waste. 4. What are the possible health impacts of 5G? The article does not delve into the health impacts of 5G. However, it is important to note that the World Health Organization, WHO, states that to date, no adverse health effects have been causally linked with exposure to wireless technologies. WHO continues to monitor research on this topic. Site turn search 55. What problem does 5G solve? What 5G aims to address the need for faster data transmission and the capacity to handle a growing number of connected devices. It supports advanced applications such as ultra-high-definition streaming, virtual reality, and the Internet of Things, IoT, facilitating innovations across various sectors. Source 6. What are the safer alternatives to 5G? The article suggests that wired connections, particularly fiber optics, are safer and more energy-efficient alternatives to 5G. Fiber optic networks can transmit data at speeds exceeding 10,000 gigabits per second without emitting electromagnetic radiation, thereby avoiding potential health risks associated with wireless technologies. In summary, while 5G offers significant advancements in connectivity and data speeds, the article raises concerns about its environmental impact, particularly regarding increased energy consumption and resource use. It advocates for wired alternatives like fiber optics as safer and more sustainable options.
Okay. Well, that is pretty concerning, especially if it's going to increase the use of electricity, of power, at a time when we're concerned about climate change, about global heating. Okay, so I asked, why is current 4G technology considered to be more environmentally friendly than 5G? And here is the answer. That I got from ChatGTP.
Current 4G technology is considered more environmentally friendly than 5G for several reasons. Step 1. Lower energy consumption. 4G base stations. 4G networks require significantly less power than 5G. A 5G base station can consume up to 3 times more electricity than a 4G station. This is primarily due to the higher frequencies used by 5G, which require denser network infrastructure and more energy-intensive equipment. Network infrastructure. 4G networks rely on fewer transmitters and base stations because they operate on lower frequencies with greater range. 5G's reliance on small cells increases the total power needed to maintain coverage. 2. Reduced equipment requirements. Infrastructure density. 4G networks can cover large areas with relatively few towers, whereas 5G requires a denser network with more base stations due to its limited range and higher susceptibility to interference. E-waste concerns. The rollout of 5G demands significant upgrades to existing infrastructure, leading to more manufacturing, resource consumption, and eventual electronic waste. 3. Data efficiency. While 5G supports faster speeds and higher data volumes, 4G is more energy efficient relative to the amount of data it handles. For everyday applications such as video streaming, social media, and basic IoT functions, 4G technology provides sufficient capacity with less environmental impact. 4. Device compatibility. Many existing devices are optimized for 4G, which avoids the need for frequent hardware upgrades or replacements. Transitioning to 5G will necessitate widespread adoption of new devices, further straining natural resources for manufacturing. 5. Global data usage. The widespread adoption of 5G is expected to increase data traffic exponentially, driving energy consumption in data centers and networks. 4G technology, by comparison, imposes less of a burden because its infrastructure and services are not designed to handle the same scale of high-demand applications. Conclusion. While 4G technology has limitations in speed and capacity compared to 5G, it remains more environmentally sustainable due to lower energy consumption, fewer infrastructure demands, and reduced resource requirements. As 5G rolls out, addressing its environmental impacts will be critical to ensuring sustainable technological progress.
Okay, but we already know what its environmental impacts are likely to be. So why is it being rolled out? What I got from that was that 4G technology provides sufficient capacity with less environmental impact. And if that's the case, why bother with 5G at all? Is this a case of growth for greed rather than growth for need? Clearly, we can't afford that. So what are we doing about it? Right, I next asked, is it intended that 5G should replace wired technologies such as fiber optics? And here's the answer.
No, 5G is not intended to replace wired technologies such as fiber optics. Instead, it is designed to complement them. Here's why. The role of 5G, wireless access expansion. 5G primarily focuses on delivering faster and more reliable wireless connectivity for mobile devices, smart systems, and the Internet of Things, IoT. It aims to provide high-speed internet in areas where wired connections are impractical or too costly to deploy. Mobile and remote applications. 5G is particularly beneficial for applications requiring mobility, such as autonomous vehicles, smart cities, and outdoor IoT deployments, where wired connections are not feasible. 2. The role of fiber optics. Core infrastructure. Fiber optic networks serve as the backbone for both wired and wireless technologies, including 5G. The data transmitted wirelessly via 5G still relies on fiber optic cables to handle the massive data loads between base stations and data centers. Speed and capacity. Fiber optics provide unmatched speed and capacity, significantly surpassing what 5G can achieve. For stationary applications like homes, offices, and data centers, fiber optics remain the preferred choice due to their reliability and energy efficiency. Complementary technologies, hybrid systems. In many cases, 5G and fiber optics work together. For example, fiber delivers data to 5G base stations, which then distribute it wirelessly to end users. This synergy allows for high-speed internet access in both wired and wireless formats. Energy efficiency. Fiber optics are more energy efficient and sustainable than 5G for high-volume stationary data transmission. For this reason, replacing fiber with 5G in such cases would be environmentally and economically counterproductive. 4. Limitations of 5G. Coverage and range. 5G's short-range, high-frequency signals require dense infrastructure, making it unsuitable for certain environments where fiber optics already provide extensive coverage. Reliability. Wired connections like fiber optics offer greater stability, especially in adverse weather conditions, making them indispensable for critical infrastructure. Conclusion. While 5G enhances wireless communication, it is not intended to replace fiber optics. Instead, the two technologies are complementary, with 5G addressing wireless connectivity needs and fiber optics maintaining dominance in high-speed, high-capacity wired applications. For sustainable and efficient network infrastructure, both technologies will continue to coexist.
Okay, now one of the things that I found interesting about that is the application or argued application of 5G to, what does it say here? To areas where wired connections are impractical or too costly to deploy. I immediately thought about areas like Africa, and I asked, please assess the argument that 5G is the best solution to providing data connectivity in regions of Africa where there is poor connectivity. This seems to be contradictory if 5G is dependent on more dense infrastructure than that needed for wired connectivity. Okay, and ChatGTP answered, let's read it aloud.
The argument that 5G is the best solution for providing data connectivity in poorly connected regions of Africa is debatable and has several contradictions. Here's an assessment. 1. Infrastructure requirements. High-density infrastructure. 5G requires a dense network of base stations and small cells to function effectively due to its short-range, high-frequency signals. This means it relies on extensive physical infrastructure, which is difficult and costly to deploy in regions with poor existing connectivity, particularly in rural areas. Wired backhaul dependency. Even 5G networks need a robust wired backhaul, typically fiber optics, to connect base stations to the internet backbone. If such infrastructure is lacking, deploying 5G becomes unrealistic and inefficient. 2. Cost challenges, expensive rollout. Building and maintaining 5G infrastructure is significantly more expensive than extending 4G networks or deploying wired solutions like fiber or broadband. These high costs can be a major barrier in under-resourced regions of Africa. Affordability for users. Even if 5G infrastructure is deployed, the cost of 5G-enabled devices and data plans may be prohibitive for many in underserved areas. Technological suitability. 4G and fixed wireless as alternatives. Extending 4G networks or using fixed wireless access (FWA) solutions, which require fewer base stations and can cover larger areas, is often more practical in regions with sparse populations. Fiber optics for high capacity. In densely populated urban areas, fiber optics remain a better choice for delivering high-speed and reliable internet. While the initial investment is significant, fiber networks require less frequent maintenance and offer greater longevity and scalability. 4. Environmental considerations. Energy consumption. 5G base stations consume significantly more power than 4G or wired networks. In regions where energy infrastructure is already strained, deploying 5G could exacerbate power issues and increase reliance on unsustainable energy sources like diesel generators. 5. Practical and contextual challenges. Urban versus rural divide. While 5G might provide benefits in urban areas with a high concentration of users and businesses, rural and remote areas, where the majority of connectivity issues in Africa exist, would not benefit as much due to the high infrastructure density required. Existing technologies. Many regions in Africa are still expanding 4G coverage, and even 3G remains the primary connectivity option in some areas. It would be more cost-effective to build on existing networks rather than leapfrogging directly to 5G. When 5G might be relevant, specific use cases. 5G may be advantageous for specific high-density urban centers, industrial zones, or applications requiring low latency and high bandwidth, such as smart city projects or advanced medical facilities. Hybrid approaches. Combining 5G for niche applications with broader deployment of 4G, fiber, or satellite solutions for general connectivity could offer a balanced approach. Conclusion. The argument that 5G is the best solution for poor connectivity in Africa is weak when examined in the context of its high infrastructure density and cost requirements. For most regions, extending 4G, investing in fiber optics for urban centers, or using satellite and fixed wireless solutions would be more practical, scalable, and sustainable. These alternatives align better with the resource constraints and connectivity challenges faced by underserved regions in Africa.
Okay, that's a fair bit to think about, but I would say that now 5G is on my radar, and it should be on everyone's radar, and I think that any environmentally concerned group should certainly come back to this. And obviously there's a political infrastructure to be concerned about. That infrastructure which goes ahead with projects like this without relating it to environmental consequences and human consequences. Okay, that's it. For now, I'm done.